Hi and welcome to my channel 4-Eyed Monster Miniatures. Today I'll be checking out a budget-friendly crane prize figure I've been searching for but couldn't find for sale for the longest time. I was happy to finally get her, even though she was a pre-owned figure used by a local hobby shop as a display piece. This Taito Coreful figure of Sakurajima Mai in a yellow summer dress is one of the very few from the crane prize figure category that I consider to be a grail figure for my collection. To my knowledge, the Taito Coreful summer dress version pre-painted figure of Sakurajima Mai from the Rascal Does Not Dream light novel series, as well as anime and manga adaptations, come in 3 dress color variants of blue, white, and yellow, which is the version I have here and prefer. Starting at the front is a close-up view of the figure being used as the box art, followed by an anime drawing of Sakurajima Mai in the yellow dress on the side, while the rest of the box art comprises the full figure as can be seen from various angles. Now that I'm at a point in my pre-painted figure hobby whereby I've started to add both mid and upper tier scale painted figures to my collection, Taito Coreful steadfastly remains one of the few budget tier price figure lines that I would still gladly consider looking to for new figures for my collection. Thankfully, the previous shop owner that had used this figure as a display piece had the foresight to keep the box and its protective materials intact, which, as you can see here, comprise soft plastic blisters and plastic sheets. So here's a bit of a PSA or public service announcement for those of you completely new to the figure collecting hobby. It's actually pretty obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you plan to resell your pre-painted figures, then keeping the original box actually helps retain a significant portion of its monetary resale value, provided of course both the figure and box are still in good condition, as they seem to be for this Sakurajima Mai figure. This Taito Coreful figurine comes in 2 simple parts, namely the complete and fully assembled figure, as well as a clear circular base for her to stand on. Now that Sakurajima Mai has been unboxed and unwrapped, let's proceed to take a closer look at the pre-painted figure and its base before we proceed to attach both of them together. When it comes to pre-painted figures, I'm always appreciative of the ones that come fully assembled without sacrificing too much in terms of pose and sculpt complexity, which at first glance seems to hold true for Taito's Sakurajima Mai figurine. Here, Mai has an incredible body sculpt that's befitting the voluptuous physique she's known for, as per her iconic bunny costume that we first see her wearing in Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Senpai. Because this is a summer dress version of Mai, there is a huge flower adorning her hair, in addition to the pink bunny hair clip that fans have come to associate with Mai. Her darkish ash brown hair is mainly flat and monotone except for the ends of her hair, which were left primarily in their clear plastic state with a light layer of shading. It's a fairly effective and simple way to provide highlights to her hair. There are 2 pegs on her right foot, which will serve as the sole connection point to the clear base. Well, the base isn't entirely clear, as there is a blue wave-like design together with a few flower motifs printed on it. The 2 holes here are where Mai's right foot will be planted or attached to the base, so I might as well proceed to do so before continuing on with the rest of this close-up and detailed look at the Taito Coreful figurine. As always, my advice is to use the work table or any hard and stable surface as the supporting structure onto which you should exert force in order to securely connect the separate pieces or parts. Now, what immediately became obvious to me upon completion of the assembly process of this Sakurajima Mai figure was its most likely weak point. Mai is a fairly heavy figure, with a center of gravity that skews significantly to her left or to our right as we look at the figure's front side. All this skewed weight is supported solely by Mai's right foot and her slender ankle. And there, right there, lies the problem. My worry is that Mai's ankle will eventually buckle under all that weight, thus consigning her figurine to the scrap heap. It's an issue I'll have to keep my eye on. Meanwhile, in keeping with her summer wear theme, Mai has on a predominantly light yellow dress that transitions into its darkest yellows at the hems of her skirt. The color scheme of her dress ties in well with the yellow flower adorning her hair, which, now that I'm looking at it up close, also has orange hair clips at the front. This bright summer color palette extends all the way to her strap heels or sandals, which is very light yellow in color, and has miniature versions of the flower on her hair decorating the toe area, as you can see here. Skin tone shading is as absent on her legs as they are on the rest of her body, but details mimicking lace material at the hems of her skirt help add eye candy that somewhat distracts from the non-existent skin tone shading on her legs. Anyway, let's move on to a full 360-degree view to see all her details as they would look like in a display environment. This Taito Coreful summer dress version of the Sakurajima Mai pre-painted price figure stands at approximately 20 centimeters in height and at a scale that, to me, retains a fairly good shelf presence without taking up too much precious real estate on your display shelf. What's more significant in terms of shelf presence, to me at least, is Mai's fairly dynamic pose that I feel is synonymous with someone who is out frolicking on a nice summer's day. Remember what I said about my misgivings about the entire weight of this figurine being supported by only her slim right ankle and foot? Well, the misgivings are still definitely there. In fact, they seem to have gotten worse after assembly, because every time I have to move this Mai figurine, I find that it wobbles worryingly at her right ankle and foot area. But I guess one way to look at it is as a necessary evil that allows Mai to pull off a dynamic looking pose that also incidentally accentuates her amply curved physique. A very Mai-like physique that was excellently translated into the sculpted form that you see before you here, helped by the simple yet tight-fitting upper section of her dress. Mai's dress has its folds and creases in all the right places, which help accentuate her curves, as well as add some dynamic movement to a pose in the form of the outward twirl of her skirt hem. This, combined with Mai's flowing hair and the positioning of her arms, hands and legs in her pose, all combine to sell that summer frolicking kind of vibe. In terms of color scheme, while Mai's light to dark yellow dress does certainly fit nicely into the summer theme, but if I was to nitpick, then it must be said the light yellows of the mid to upper half of her dress are extremely close in terms of hue, so much so that her skin tone and dress almost blend into a monotone whole, for want of a better phrase. And while Mai's dress has a color gradation from light to dark yellow, her skin tone lacks any form of shading except for the blushes on her cheeks. Yet the overall paintwork, for example, including her facial details, hair accessories and hair, as well as painted details on her strap heels or sandals, are of a pretty decent quality. As I've touched on earlier, this figurine closely resembles the Sakurajima Mai character from the Rascal Does Not Dream Of anime series. Her purplish eyes are spot on, while her open mouth smile, though lacking any teeth, do add a vivid color to her face. Her button-like nose isn't as well defined as I would have liked, but this isn't easy to do on a sculpted figure, of which for a budget price figure is even less of a priority. Other cool details include a rather large and lovely flower, as well as orange hair clips adorning her hair, which itself is sculpted to show off individual locks of hair and has a simple color gradation in that most of Mai's hair is an opaque black to darkish ash brown, while the ends of her hair were a more translucent shade of her black or ash brown hair. Seen in isolation, Mai's body posture sports a significantly S-shaped curve, which is a key factor in making a pose look not only dynamic but also sexy. While Mai's dress has a simple design, it nonetheless looks good on her. I especially love the frills on the hems of her dress, which has been sculpted to look multi-layered with an inner lace material. All the folds and creases on Mai's dress both help to accentuate her curvaceous body as well as her twirling movement. Another wonderful detail on Mai's lower half is the pair of platform sandals she has on, which actually look like strap heels when viewed from afar. Apart from the obvious detail of the wonderfully sculpted and painted trio of flowers adorning the toe area, there's also the excellent cork-like texture on the soles of her sandal. Mai is standing on a clear round base that has a splashing water design on it with some flower and leaf motifs, and her name spelled out in a Western style. It's a simple base whose blue color complements the yellows of her dress. Also, with the help from the rotating displays mirror, we can just about make out the dynamic positioning of her legs as well as the insides of her voluminous skirt. As a fan of the Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Senpai anime and of the main character Sakurajima Mai, this Taito Coreful figure of Mai in a yellow summer dress has been a much sought after grail figure for me. And it is one of the few from the budget crane price figure category, as the majority of my grail figures reside in the upper tier category. This being the case, it should come as no surprise that the summer dress version of Sakurajima Mai gets a diamond rating or an A rank despite her shortcomings. These negatives comprise mainly a lack of skin tone shading on her arms and legs, and the worrying burden of the entire figure's weight being carried by just one slender ankle and foot. Now, the former isn't as obvious due to her fair skin tone, while the latter is something of a trade-off that allows Mai to adopt a pose that is part of this figurine's charm. Meanwhile, her positives far outweigh the negatives I had just mentioned. As I've just highlighted, her one-legged pose exudes a charm that exemplifies the joyous feeling of frolicking on a fine summer's day. The lack of skin tone shading aside, the rest of Mai's paintwork is excellent, considering she's a budget crane price figure. From the yellow gradations on her dress to the painted details on the flowers. So overall, this is a figure I'm delighted to have in my collection, warts and all. And with that, we have come to the end of yet another unboxing and review video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it, as it will help me out greatly. As always, until we meet again, be well and be happy.